I bought her a car for her new job, then found out the job didn't exist and the car wasn't hers. When I met Emma, I didn't think someone like her would even look my way. I was still mourning my mother's death, barely functioning, drifting between work, her old house, and long drives to nowhere. Emma worked at the corner cafe I would stop at every other morning. She wasn't just kind, she noticed people, remembered names, details, how I took my coffee. The first time she asked how I was holding up after noticing the obituary in my car's passenger seat, I almost broke down right there in front of her. She didn't press, just handed me my coffee and said, "Take it slow today, okay?" That was how it started. We began talking more. She told me about her love for nonprofit work, her passion for helping displaced women find new lives. She was a psychology major who had taken time off to care for her younger siblings when her mom had health issues. Her eyes lit up when she talked about community outreach programs she dreamed of building. Emma wasn't flashy or arrogant. She was the kind of person who bought an extra muffin for a homeless man who lingered outside the cafe and didn't expect thanks for it. 6 months in, we were inseparable. She never asked for anything. In fact, she seemed embarrassed whenever I tried to pay for dinner or bring her flowers. I remember thinking, finally, someone who cares without keeping score. One night, we were lying on the couch watching some terrible late-night documentary, and she turned to me, biting her lip like she was weighing something big. "I got offered a position," she said. "It's with this Women's Support Foundation. They do outreach, rehab services, career placement. It's huge for me. They want me to help set up a satellite office in another city." I froze. The idea of her moving away hadn't even crossed my mind. She looked down, brushing imaginary lint off the blanket. "I don't want to leave you. But it's an actual career path, you know?" She hesitated. "There's just one problem. I don't have a car. The foundation doesn't provide one, and I can't afford something reliable. I don't even know if I can." I offered to help without thinking. She protested. Of course she did. "No, I can't let you do that," she said. "It's too much." But I insisted. We'd been together long enough that I didn't think twice about it. She had done more for my emotional well-being than she would ever understand. Buying her a car felt like a small way to give back. I didn't even tell my friends. I knew they'd warn me about putting money into something so soon, but they didn't know her like I did. We went to the dealership together. She cried when we signed the paperwork. Well, I signed it, since I was technically the owner. It made sense at the time. Better interest rates, easier insurance, less hassle. I told her we'd switch it over in a year or two. She packed up her things a week later and drove off in a modest gray Honda Civic, waving at me with tears in her eyes. "I'll call every night," she promised. "And I'll visit every other swear." The first week, she did call. Every night. Told me about the team, how intense training was, how they were trying to renovate the space into something welcoming. She sent me photos of files, stacks of brochures, a break room with half-assembled IKEA chairs. Then the calls started getting shorter. She was exhausted, she said. Long hour cases. 2 weeks in, she stopped answering calls and started texting instead. "Sorry, in a meeting." Or, "Working late, babe. Call tomorrow." I didn't want to be clingy. I told myself it was just the adjustment period, that she was building something meaningful. I sent her money a couple times and how tight things were. "First paycheck hasn't come in yet," she'd say. "Brutal here." Once I joked that her new job was so intense I felt like I was dating a spy. She replied with a heart emoji and, "You have no idea." I missed her. The apartment felt empty. My days bled into one another. A boring cycle of work and waiting for her to text. Sometimes I would rewatch old videos of us goofing around in the kitchen, or read our old messages when I couldn't sleep. Then, one day, her Instagram disappeared. Just gone. I panicked for a second, wondering if she was okay. She texted me late that night saying someone hacked her account and she had to take it down. "I'll be off socials for a bit," she wrote. "At work anyway." The next morning, I noticed something weird. I was scrolling through our old texts, looking for a picture of the car, and I realized I never actually saw the foundation's name written anywhere. She'd just always referred to it as the non-profit or the foundation. It felt like nothing, until it didn't. I Googled variations of what she described. Outreach for displaced women, trauma counseling, satellite, her new city's name, but nothing came up. At least, nothing that matched the descriptions she gave me. I tried asking casually, like I wasn't suspicious. "What's the actual name of the foundation again? I want to see if they have a blog or something." She replied 3 hours later. "I'll send you the site later. I'm literally reports right now, LOL." She didn't send it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I searched property records for the address she gave me. She'd mentioned it once when talking about repainting the lobby. The address was real, but it was a warehouse. An actual shipping warehouse, registered to a logistics company. My stomach dropped. Maybe she had the number wrong. Maybe it was a nearby address. Maybe she was working out of a converted space temporarily. Maybe. But the next morning I got no texts. No good morning, no busy day ahead message. Nothing. And that was the first day I started wondering if the girl I fell in love with ever really existed at all. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I wasn't that kind of person. The paranoid, controlling type who tracks every move. I prided myself on being trusting. But something about the warehouse address gnawed at me. It wasn't a mistake. She'd said it casually, offhand, like someone who had nothing to hide. But now that I knew what was actually there, every memory felt like a thread unraveling. I tried calling. Straight to voicemail. I texted, "Hey, just checking in. Everything okay?" No answer. The next day, still nothing. I told myself I'd wait. She said she was swamped. People get overwhelmed. But after 48 hours of silence, I cracked. I called again. Then twice more in the span of 10 minutes. Still voicemail. Around midnight, she finally replied, "Sorry. Had a mental breakdown at work. Not in a good place. Please give me space. I love you, but I can't talk right now." I stared at the message for a long time. It didn't sound like her. Not the Emma I knew. But I also didn't want to push someone who said they were mentally breaking down. I texted back, "I'm here if you need. No pressure. Just want to know you're safe." She didn't reply. 3 more days went by. I called the number listed for the shipping company tied to the warehouse address. A woman answered, bored sounding, and confirmed they'd had the lease for years. No nonprofits in the building. No, they don't rent out space. I asked if there were any other similar addresses nearby. Maybe a mistake? She sighed. "Sir, this is a logistics warehouse. We don't have... We're next to the train yard and 2 gas stations." Click. I sat there, staring at the wall. I wanted to believe she was just or lied because she was embarrassed about something else. Like maybe she didn't get the job and was trying to save face. I wanted any explanation besides the one that was becoming more and more likely. I called my friend Drew. He had met Emma once during a double date. We weren't especially close, but he was blunt and smart in ways I appreciated when I felt like I was losing grip. After I told him everything, he went quiet. "Look, man," he finally said, "you're not gonna like this, but I think you should go see for yourself." "What, drive out there?" "Yeah. You bought her a car. You're sending her money. And now she's ghosting you and claiming she had a breakdown but can't even text? Come on. Something's off." I hated that he was right. The next morning, I cleared my calendar, got in my car, and drove the 3 hours to the city she'd moved to. I didn't tell her I was coming. I didn't know what I was even planning to do. Show up at her door? Demand answers? I didn't even know where she lived, technically. She'd sent me a street name once, in a picture with her co-workers, but no exact number. That photo, I realize now, was taken outside a bar. I spent the first hour driving aimlessly, checking around that block for her car. Nothing. Finally, I parked, pulled out my phone, and scrolled back months through our old messages until I found a blurry picture of her standing on a balcony. I zoomed in on the background, a mural, bright blue with yellow stars. Drew had a friend in the city. I sent him the pic and asked if it looked familiar. 2 hours later, he texted back, "That mural's on 3rd and Pine, next to a place called Joe's Burgers." My hands shook as I plugged it into Maps. I drove there slowly, heart pounding, every worst-case scenario flashing behind my eyes. I turned the corner onto Pine, and I saw it, parked on the opposite side of the street, my gray Honda Civic. I pulled over and killed the engine. The tinted, but I recognized the little air freshener she hung from the rearview mirror. A tiny pink tree that had always made the car smell like artificial strawberries. I sat and waited. Maybe she'd walk out any minute. Maybe this was just her friend's place. Maybe she was helping someone, volunteering, anything. But 20 minutes later, the front door opened, and she stepped out, laughing, wearing a dress I'd never seen before, holding an iced coffee, her hair curled in a way she never bothered with when we lived together. Behind her, a guy followed. Early 30s, tall, clean-shaven, tattoos down both arms. He said something and she playfully smacked his shoulder. Then she kissed him. Long, intimate, familiar. I ducked down instinctively, though no one was looking my way. My ears rang. My stomach twisted so hard I thought I might throw up. She walked to the car. My car. Unlocked it, got in with the guy, and they drove off, music thumping faintly through the windows. I sat in my car for another hour. Then 2. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was hollow, like someone had scooped out my insides and left the skin. Eventually, I drove to a gas station and just sat in the lot under the buzzing fluorescent lights, trying to piece together what the hell just happened. I pulled up the vehicle registration on my phone. Still under my name. Still insured by my account. I opened the police non-emergency line and called. "Hi, I have a question," I began, my voice cracking. "If someone has a car that's in your name, like fully registered at it, and they're driving, is that considered stolen?" The officer paused. "Permission initially?" "Yeah," I said, "but I want it back now." "Is there a written agreement? A loan? Anything formal?" "No," I said. "It was personal. Told me it was a gray area. Not a criminal case unless I could prove she took it without my consent. But since the vehicle was registered to me, I had the right to report it and request a repossession, or retrieve it myself, assuming I had the keys and could do so safely." Safely. The word rattled around in my brain. I still had the spare key, and I wasn't going home without my car. I didn't sleep that night. I parked a few streets away and waited. I kept replaying the scene in my head. Emma stepping into my car with some guy, like none of it meant anything. Like I was just some idiot she squeezed dry. I knew I should be angry, furious. But what I felt was worse. Humiliation. She'd kissed me like I was her future, then disappeared. And now she was smiling for someone else in a dress I probably paid for. By morning, my decision was made. I drove back to the apartment complex near the mural and parked across the street. It was 7:40 a.m., and the car wasn't there yet. I figured she must have taken it back to wherever she stayed the night. I waited. At 8:12, the Civic pulled in. She was alone this time. No makeup. Hair up in a lazy bun. She looked tired, maybe even stressed. She parked without noticing me and headed up the stairs. My heart was hammering. I sat still for a few minutes. Then I got out, walked calmly across the street, and unlocked the car with the spare key. It chirped like it recognized me. I climbed in. It was surreal, seeing how she'd changed the space. A dream catcher hung from the mirror now, a tote bag in the back seat, a hoodie that wasn't mine crumpled on the passenger side, empty coffee cups, lip gloss. I took a deep breath and drove off. My phone buzzed 20 minutes later. I let it go to voicemail. Then another. Then came a message. "Where the fuck is my car?" I pulled into the driveway of a friend who lived just outside the city, someone who worked nights and was never home during the day. I left the car there and Ubered to a nearby diner. I didn't know what to do next. My hands were shaking from adrenaline and regret. The messages kept coming. "Emma, are you insane? You stole my car?" "Emma, I'm calling the cops." "Emma, you're acting like a psycho." Then finally, "We need to talk. Please. I'm not mad. I just need to explain. Please don't do anything stupid." I stared at that one for a long time. Something about the tone shift made me sick. I didn't respond. Instead, I logged into the insurance portal and as an authorized driver. I called my bank and made sure the automatic gas and maintenance charges were cut off. And then, I looked up the name she once gave me for her supervisor at the nonprofit. The name didn't exist on LinkedIn, on the foundation's staff page, or anywhere online. In fact, the entire foundation only had 5 lists. None of them matched anything she'd told me. That night, I got another text. It was a paragraph this time. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I was going through a lot and I didn't know how to be honest about it. Things got out of hand and I didn't know how to stop. You're a good person. I never meant to lie." No explanation. No apology. Just more vagueness. "What job were you actually doing, Emma?" No answer. I followed it with, "Was there ever a job?" Still nothing. Then I did something I wasn't proud of. I messaged one of the guys who followed her on Instagram before she deactivated. It looked familiar. I'd seen his name in her comments a few times. I said, "Hey, weird question, but are you dating Emma?" He replied 20 minutes later, "Sort of." "Why?" I told him everything. He didn't reply right away. An hour later, he sent a voice message. "I had a bad feeling, man. She said she was helping run a nonprofit, but she never talked about it much. Always vague. Came over at night. Said she was too tired for dinner dates or family stuff." Yeah, this explains a lot. I asked him how long they'd been seeing each other. He said, "Since February." I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. That was the same month I bought her the car. She was double timing us the whole time. 2 days later, he sent me messages where she'd claimed I was just a friend who helped her get back on, and that she was dealing with a stalker ex. That she was saving up for a car because it had been stolen. It was like reading a stranger's biography. Nothing in those texts resembled me. Tipping point. He told me there was another guy before him, someone she'd lived with briefly, who also helped her get back on her feet. Same story. Said she was saving to launch a women's shelter. Needed help. Vanished with his car, too. I tracked that guy down through Facebook. His name was Joel. I messaged him, fully expecting him to block me. But he responded. We talked for over an hour. Same story. Same charm. Same vague job. Same mental breakdown. He told me she had cried when he questioned her. Played the victim. Said he was the problem. Said he was controlling. When he asked for his car back, she said he gifted it. And then ghosted him. She's not just a liar, Joel told me. Manipulator. She builds entire worlds with her words. You think you're helping her, but she's pulling you into a narrative that doesn't exist. I couldn't argue. It all fit. And then, like clockwork, Emma texted me again. You talked to him, didn't you? No name. Just him. Then, you don't know what he did to me. You're choosing to believe a stranger over me? You lied about your job. You lied about the car. You lied about who I was to you. Then, don't contact me again. She responded, You'll regret this. You always regret from people who love you. I blocked her number. The guy she was seeing, the one after me, said he was done too. But something told me, this wasn't the end. Not yet. I didn't go back home for a few days. I needed distance, time to think, to let the mess in my head settle. I stayed with my friend Drew, slept on his couch, tried to pretend this was something I could eventually laugh about, like a bad movie or a wild story you tell at a party. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw her, laughing, driving my car, kissing someone else like I never existed. Drew tried to be helpful in his own way. You know what you should do? He said, slapping a beer down in front of me. Take legal action. He's done this to multiple guys, it's fraud. Maybe even grand theft. You've got receipts, registration, texts, build a case. I didn't know if it would work, but I was too angry. So I did. I called a lawyer, told him everything. He sounded skeptical at first, like maybe I was just another guy embarrassed he got played. Until I forwarded him screenshots, financial records, photos of the car title in my name, the messages from Joel and the other guy. He got quiet, then said, Okay, yeah, this isn't just a breakup gone wrong. This is calculated. We started the paperwork. I filed a civil claim for the value of the car and the money I'd transferred to her under false pretenses. My lawyer also helped me report her for fraudulent misrepresentation, essentially deceiving me for material gain. We even reached out to the leasing company to flag her as an unauthorized user of the vehicle. They didn't want to get involved at first, but when they saw the mounting documentation, they started cooperating. A week, I got a call from a blocked number. I shouldn't have answered, but I was tired of hiding. You're really going to ruin my life over a misunderstanding? Her voice was calm, like she still believed she could talk her way out of it. There was no job, I said. No foundation. No move for your career. You think everything is black and white. You have no idea what I was dealing with. I needed help. You offered. That's not a crime. No, but lying to take advantage of people is. She went quiet for a second, then laughed, bitter and low. You're not the first guy to get his heart broken. Grow up. I hung up. A week later, the lawyer informed me she'd been served. I half expected her to disappear, change her number again, but instead, she hired a defense attorney and filed a motion to dismiss, claiming the car was a gift and the money was support from a romantic partner. Classic. But I still had the messages, screenshots where she said she couldn't accept something so big, and me replying temporary until we could get it in her name. She even texted me, Thanks again for letting me use the car. I'll pay for gas every week until my first paycheck comes in. It was a loan, a favor, not a gift. The case moved forward. Then something unexpected happened. Joel, the first guy, emailed me a video. He'd gone to the police months ago after she ghosted him, filed a report, but nothing came of it. Still, he had installed a security camera in his apartment before things ended. Something about weird vibes and a stolen phone. One night, while she thought he was asleep, the camera caught her sitting on his laptop, deleting emails, messaging another guy under a fake name. That footage? It was gold. He gave me permission to use it in court. Then, as if the universe wasn't done dropping bombs, I got another message on Facebook. A woman this time. Her name was Katrina. She found me through Joel's post on a support forum. She'd dated Emma briefly. Emma had told her she was bisexual, in recovery, and trying to escape toxic men. She moved in quickly, asked for help with bills, claimed she was trying to launch a mobile women's shelter, even had blueprints. Sound familiar? Katrina got suspicious when Emma took off with her iPad and never came back. She thought it was just a fling gone bad until she saw Joel's post. I asked her if she still had any messages. She sent me everything. At this point, my lawyer didn't even... This isn't just a civil case anymore, he said. This is potentially criminal. Patterned behavior. Multiple victims. Interstate fraud if it crosses state lines. He filed an amendment to the suit and contacted the local DA. The next hearing was in 2 weeks. I showed up early. Emma arrived 15 minutes late, wearing a sleek black dress and fake glasses. She looked polished, innocent, like someone who might volunteer at a soup kitchen. Her lawyer was a stern-looking man with a leather briefcase and no soul behind his eyes. They tried to argue that everything was ambiguous, that relationships often involve financial exchange, that there was no explicit agreement, no contract. But when we presented the texts, the security footage, and testimony from 2 other victims, her attorney asked for a recess. I watched her squirm in her seat. Her foot bounced nonstop, and she kept tugging at her sleeve. For the first time, I saw cracks in her mask. After the recess, her lawyer offered a settlement. They'd return the car, drop the countersuit, and pay a small portion of the money back in exchange for a gag order. I said no. We went back into court, and then something unexpected happened. Joel was there. He had flown in just to testify. He stood up, took the stand, and spoke with raw, brutal honesty. She's done this more than once, he said. She's smart, calculated. She makes you feel needed, like you're saving her. Then she drains you and vanishes. This wasn't love. It was theft wrapped in affection. Emma wouldn't look at him. The judge didn't seem moved by the tears she summoned when it was her turn. Maybe he'd seen it all before. In the end, the court ruled in my favor, ordered to pay restitution, and the car was returned legally to me. The DA said they were reviewing her actions for potential criminal charges. I didn't know what would come of it, but for the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. But the weirdest part? Even after all that, part of me still remembered how she smelled when she hugged me, the way she hummed when she cooked, the tiny details that made me fall for her. And I hated that, because none of it was ever real. After the ruling, I drove home in silence. The Civic sat beside me in the driveway like a ghost of something I couldn't quite bury. I stared at it for a long time before finally stepping out. I didn't even want to open the door. I knew everything inside would still smell like her. Strawberry air freshener, coconut shampoo, deceit. For the first few days, I just left it parked. I took the bus to work, walked when I could. I told myself it was to clear my head. But really, I couldn't face what that car represented. Every time I looked at it, I felt like a fool all over again. Emma disappeared again. After the court ruled in my favor, her number was disconnected. Her social media stayed wiped. Mutual acquaintances, the few we had, said she moved out of her place. One even claimed to have seen her packing up with a U-Haul and a new guy helping her load boxes. I wasn't surprised. It took a few weeks, but the DA's office reached out again. They were officially opening a criminal investigation. Joel and Katrina had filed their own reports, and 2 more people, a man and a woman, came forward after Joel made a post about the case going public. Each of them had the same story. He'd spun lies about being in trouble, about needing help, about escaping something terrible. And they'd all bought in, given her money, resources, sometimes housing. All of them said the same thing. She made you feel like you were her hero. And once you were hooked, she disappeared. Or worse, turned on you when you asked questions. They said they'd try to move forward, but warned that Emma was... She operates in emotional shadows, one investigator told me. Unless we catch her in the act or get a direct confession, prosecution could be tricky. In the meantime, I tried to reclaim my life. I sold the car. I didn't care about the loss. I just couldn't bear the idea of sitting in the driver's seat, haunted by the past. I donated the money to a real organization that supported displaced women. It felt like poetic justice, taking the lie she'd used and turning it into something real, something honest. And I started therapy. Not because I wanted to talk about my feelings. I thought that was BS, honestly. But because I couldn't stop blaming myself. I'd replay everything I said to her, every time I believed her, every time I ignored a red flag because I thought love was supposed to be unconditional. My therapist said something that stuck. She didn't just steal your money or your car. She stole your story, twisted it into something that served her. That's why it hurts so much. Because your memories, your moments, they weren't shared. They were used. That hit me like a freight train. I wasn't grieving her. I was grieving the version of me I was when I was with her. The man who believed in second chances, in rescue, in redemption. That man had been dismantled. Time. But healing started slowly. I unfollowed people who reminded me of her, blocked mutuals, cleaned out old texts, pictures, voice notes. I deleted the folder I'd once titled Future with Emma. It had photos of apartments we wanted, baby names we joked about, half-written letters I'd never sent. She didn't deserve to occupy space in my phone, or in my mind. And yet, way back in. A few months later, I got a DM on an app I hadn't used in years. The profile was new, a fake name, no photos, but the writing style was unmistakable. I never meant for things to end like that. I stared at the message for a long time. Then another came. I wish I could go back and tell the truth. But the truth never got me anywhere in life. Lying was survival. Then finally, I hope you find peace. Even if it's not with me. I didn't reply. I blocked it. But the shaking in my hands didn't stop for hours. You'd think the most painful part of being betrayed is the moment you realize it. But it's not. It's the aftershocks. The way you flinch at kindness for months afterward. The way you interrogate every compliment, every new relationship. The way you build walls out of old wounds and start thinking love is just another word for bait. I went back to dating eventually, cautiously. I met people who were nothing like her. Transparent, messy in honest ways, imperfect in the kind of ways that didn't require a rescue. And I started writing again, journaling at first. Then one day, I sat down and typed the entire story out. Not to send, not to post, just to see it. To acknowledge it happened. Because for a long time I gaslit myself, thought I was exaggerating, that I'd been dramatic, that I somehow deserved it. But reading it all back, she chose to lie. She chose to manipulate again, and again, and again. And I chose finally to walk away. Not with revenge, not with bitterness, but with clarity. And that's worth more than any car. A year passed. I didn't think about her every day anymore. Not consciously. But sometimes I'd see a gray Honda Civic on the road and my chest would tighten. Other times it was a smell or a song or someone using the word foundation too casually. Trauma doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. The DA eventually dropped the case. Not because she was innocent, but because they couldn't pin her down. She moved cities again. Changed her name, probably her appearance. The other victims stopped responding to the investigator. People got tired. Moved on. I didn't blame them. Some pain is easier to bury than to drag through court. For a while, I thought about hiring a private investigator just to know where she was. Not to confront her. Just to confirm she was real. That this entire chapter of my life wasn't some elaborate fever dream. But I didn't. Because in the end, it didn't matter where she went. It mattered where I was going. I moved. Got a new place in a different neighborhood, fresh start. It was small, but it was mine. Every piece of furniture I picked out myself. No ghost memories stitched into the cushions. No sense of someone else's shampoo in the bathroom. Just me, my choices, my space. One night, I was out with some friends from work. Nothing fancy, just beers and bad nachos at a rooftop bar. We were swapping dating horror stories, half laughing, half cringing. Someone asked, "What's the wildest thing an ex ever did to you?" Do I tell them? Do I unload the whole truth? The car, the lie, the court? I glanced down at my drink, ice melting slowly. And then I said, "She faked a job in another city so I'd buy her a car. Then she disappeared and used it to date someone else." The table went silent, thinking I was joking. But I didn't laugh. When they realized I was serious, their faces shifted. Disbelief, then horror, then pity. I hated that last one most. But instead of curling inward, I finished my drink and said, "Lesson learned." That night, I went home and reopened the story I'd written months earlier. I cleaned it up, changed names, restructured parts. Then I posted it on Reddit. Not out of revenge, but as a warning. It blew up overnight. People messaged me, telling me they'd gone through something similar. Others said it opened their eyes. A few called me an idiot for falling for it, but those didn't bother me. Because I knew now, shame dies in sunlight. Secrets rot when exposed. And I wasn't ashamed anymore. A few weeks later, something strange happened. A friend screenshot from a dating app. A woman, brunette, big eyes, familiar smile. Different name, different city, same bio. Looking to rebuild. Passionate about helping others. Let's create something meaningful. Asked, "Isn't this the one?" It was her. Same tilt of the head, same slightly crooked bottom tooth she used to hate. She was still out there. Still spinning new webs. I didn't report it. I didn't reach out. I just stared at the image for a moment and thought, she'll do it again. But I wouldn't be there to catch her this time. And neither would Joel, or Katrina, or the guy with the tattoo sleeves. Because we were done being the support beams for her house of lies. A few days later, I met someone new. Nothing serious. Just coffee. Her name was Lauren, and she talked too fast when she was excited. Told me within the first 10 minutes that she hated lies more than anything in the world. I smiled at that. Told her I used to be the same. Now, I just hate the people who build lives on them. We talked for 3 hours. No love at first sight, no wild sparks. Just easy conversation, unforced laughter, honesty. And that was enough. Later that night, I walked past my bookshelf and noticed something out of place. A small envelope tucked between 2 novels. I pulled it out. It was one of the handwritten notes Emma had once left in my lunchbox. I unfolded it slowly. You make me feel like I matter, like I could finally have a future. I don't deserve you, but I'll spend every day trying to. Once. Then again. Then I burned it. Because I finally understood that wasn't her writing to me. That was her writing to herself. A version she never became, and maybe never even wanted to. That chapter is over. I don't need revenge. I don't need closure. I've got the keys to my own life now. And I'm never giving them to anyone who doesn't earn